Fu Qian returned to the warehouse and noticed his sand points had dropped to 17. The job was tougher than he'd expected. Neither fighting the old man directly nor trying to be gentle worked. His sharp eyes always gave away any pain he tried to hide.
Then Fu Qian had an idea. He tore off his work badge, rushed home to grab his phone, and headed to a maternity center.
At reception, a woman eyed him like fresh meat. He asked if they had a device that simulated childbirth pain. She praised his future wife, but froze when he asked if it really hurt.
The lead director explained the machine's pain levels ran from 1 to 10, starting low and increasing gradually, with an option to stop anytime.
Fu Qian dismissed that and demanded level 10 immediately, then pushed for level 12, saying he needed to train for sudden, intense shocks.
A few middle-aged women gathered, the director flipping through paperwork, their eyes hardening. The device started at level 10, sending a jolt like a groin kick. Fu Qian kept a calm face, confusing the women.
The director asked if he was in pain. Fu Qian said yes, but his expression didn't show it. The director said it still wasn't enough. Fu Qian's own sense told him it was less painful than what he'd faced in containment. When Fu Qian asked if 10 was the max, the director hesitated, then admitted the machine could go to 12. Fu Qian forced the upgrade. The director, hiding his concern, ordered the staff to crank it up, saying it was a good chance to test the equipment.
At level 12, the pain surged, but Fu Qian forced a Mona Lisa smile and said he felt absolutely fantastic. The women turned pale. The director's stare sent chills through them. Afterward, the clinic erupted in screams as Fu Qian left, badge back on. Back in the warehouse, a prompt asked if he wanted to spend a SAN point to try containment again. He agreed, and the old man's voice greeted him, asking if he was awake. The old man examined him, withdrew a long syringe from his hand, and told him the moon was unusually warm, urging him to go outside. Despite lingering intestinal pain, Fu Qian rose expressionless, followed the old man's direction, and entered a cluttered, creaking room that looked like an abandoned clinic. The door was half blocked, but the old man urged him to hurry. The moon was about to set. The old man stood holding a huge scythe glowing coldly. Fu Qian stepped outside without hesitation. The sky was deep blue, the moon huge and full, bathing him in silvery light. The moonlight quickly eased his pain, and he felt an urge to pose under it. Suddenly, a sharp wind and a spray of blood hit him. A sharp pain in his back told him he'd been ambushed. He turned to see who attacked him. There was nothing. His vision faded, containment failed, leaving him with 5 minutes left, a sense of inspiration, and SAN points down to 16. Fu Qian kept losing sanity points with each failed attempt and restarted repeatedly, driven by growing curiosity. Each time, the old man's voice asked if he was awake, and Fu Qian, gritting his teeth, found himself in a courtyard facing a strange creature. The monster had a human torso and limbs, an unnaturally long neck, and a head full of hair, looking like a bearded zombie. It stood still, hollow eye sockets fixed on the starry sky. Thanks to an inspiration boost, Fu Qian now saw more details, like tattered cloth on its body, making him wonder if it had once been human. The old man reminded him the moon was about to set. Fu Qian's first plan was to sneak past the creature, which stayed focused on the sky. He spotted a heavy stone double door nearby, his only exit, but it was too close to the monster. Betting the creature's senses were dull, he hid behind a tree. He survived 20 minutes, but then the monster howled, got agitated, and quickly found him, knocking him away. His sanity dropped again, and the system called him useless. He realized the werewolf always freaked out after 20 minutes, so hiding wouldn't work long-term. Next, Fu Qian tried a diversion. He threw a stone to lure the monster away from the door, but it was too fast, swatting the stone midair and leaping across the courtyard to catch him. Another failure, more sanity lost, and the system's judgment stayed the same. Frustrated, Fu Qian considered giving up. With sanity low, he looked at the old man holding a gleaming scythe. Remembering the old man's earlier words about looking at the moon, Fu Qian had an idea. The monster had been staring at the moon for a long time, and the old man told him to do the same. Maybe he'd been doing it wrong. Known for his unconventional thinking, Fu Qian found a spot, stretched out his hand, and stared at the moon like the monster. For a tense few minutes, nothing happened. Just as the monster started to move again, the heavy stone door quietly opened from the outside. Fu Qian's guess was right. The place was eerie, and he knew more dangers awaited, but an exit had appeared. He dropped his pose, moved carefully past the still-focused monster, and dashed through the open door. Outside, he entered Full Moon Garden, a rolling landscape covered in countless small white and yellow flowers. Each petal reflected the moonlight like flowing mercury, creating a strangely beautiful scene. Fu Qian breathed out in relief, then immediately sucked the breath back in, knowing his escape was far from over. Fu Qian had barely caught his breath when a sudden, intense heat took over his body. It felt like he was melting, every cell restless and wriggling as if trying to break free. Looking at the garden flowers, he saw their petals reflecting countless moons, concentrating the moonlight onto him. This amplified light triggered flesh buds to sprout and twist rapidly on his arm. He tried tearing one off, but more appeared, quickly transforming his entire limb. Realizing he couldn't stop the mutation, he focused on controlling the growing tendrils, though they were draining his life fast. He needed to escape. Scanning for an exit, he found none and ran back toward the stone door. But before he could reach it, his legs had melted and fused with the ground. He collapsed in the courtyard, which alerted the werewolf inside. The creature howled and pounced on him. Later, back in the warehouse, Fu Qian replayed the scene. The garden's flowers were clearly abnormal, and the mutation was too fast to destroy them. Staying in the garden was impossible. He wouldn't last an hour. He realized all his dead ends came from lacking strength. If he could knock out the old man with one kick and kill the werewolf with 2 punches, he'd find a way out. The old man seemed too unpredictable, but the werewolf looked more manageable. Determined, Fu Qian went home and searched online for how to fight a tiger barehanded. Among the chaotic advice, one suggestion stood out: a slide tackle. It sounded promising. He entered the Full Moon Garden for the 8th time. This time, he didn't step fully inside, just stuck out his hands. The petal's light lit up his arms, and tendrils of flesh bulged out immediately. The werewolf brother was already awake, standing silently under the moonlight and staring at him. Fu Qian knew defeating this creature was his only chance. When the werewolf howled and leaped, Fu Qian remembered the advice. Don't turn your back, keep eye contact. Instead of retreating, he charged forward, slid under the beast, and shoved his mutated arm deep into its mouth. The werewolf bit down hard, nearly severing his arm, but Fu Qian held on with his other arm around its neck. Inside its mouth, he controlled the tendrils to grow wildly, tearing through its throat and organs. The werewolf thrashed violently, howling and destroying the courtyard. But Fu Qian stayed in its blind spot, holding tight until the beast finally collapsed. He pulled free and silently tore off the last mutated flesh from his hand, impressed by the effectiveness of the Tieba brothers' idea. The old man appeared in the courtyard, watching him with a strange expression. He praised Fu Qian's fighting style and asked what made him confront and kill such a monster. Fu Qian replied that for a true gamer, anything with a health bar was fair game, even a god. After a brutal fight, Fu Qian successfully contained the werewolf. The system judged his performance as savage and effective, noting his weak attachment to humanity. Fu Qian felt annoyed by that, but, watching the replay, he saw his arms had mutated into tentacles to extract the werewolf's organs. He thought his actions were just a fearless, all-out effort to defeat a tough enemy, finding a certain appeal in the blood and struggle, not madness. He also noticed the old man in the house who watched the fight calmly, clearly much stronger than the werewolf. The rewards were solid. His SAN points, which had dropped low from earlier failures, were boosted by 20, and he gained 5 inspiration points. He unlocked a new skill, Air Bullet, which compressed air into an invisible, stealthy projectile. It fired quickly and had decent range, impressing him right away. The system also gave him a special achievement, Visceral Critical Strike, a brutal finishing move that damages an opponent's internal organs. Fu Qian connected it to his recent gruesome actions but insisted he wasn't really into gutting enemies. With the workday done, Fu Qian returned home, his vision briefly darkening before he found himself back in his apartment. He saw a message about a 30,000 yuan transfer into his account, wiping away his fatigue and making him realize how well the job paid. He logged onto a forum, found a comment about a slide tackle killing a tiger, and replied that he'd tested it and it worked. That night, he thought about his new life. Despite the strange and dangerous work, he found it more interesting than his old 996 schedule, enjoying the challenges, thinking, and fighting. The next morning, Fu Qian put on his work ID and the warehouse appeared. But something was off. Black patterns flickered on the walls, and ghostly bone spurs floated in the air, signs of another containment breach. The system confirmed it. Code 2 to 133. Ritual notes. Needed recontainment. His mission was to enter an ancient city and stop the descent of an evil god's offspring. He chose to bring air bullet and visceral critical strike with him. As the ancient city loaded, the system described a heavy evil aura and mentioned righteous night watchmen, who were unaware of the real threat. Fu Qian didn't know this group but figured they might help. His vision returned slowly, then was filled by a pair of unblinking amber eyes, so close they took up his whole view. He felt choking pressure on his neck and struggled to breathe. An ethereal, melodic voice asked if he could hear it. Remembering past experience, Fu Qian tried to speak, but before he could, a flash of a knife cut through him. An icy chill spread through his chest as blood poured out. The voice, now sobbing, apologized and said its sins had grown even deeper. Then Fu Qian's vision went dark. Back in the warehouse, Fu Qian was confused. The porcelain woman had just killed him again, only apologizing briefly before sending him away, which made no sense. He went back in to get a better look at her. This time he saw a woman in a black hat holding a slender curved sword. Her lower face was hidden, but the exposed skin was as white and smooth as porcelain. One side of her face and her hand were actually made of a bone china-like material, not flesh. Fu Qian immediately recognized her as a night watchman, much stronger than the werewolf he'd fought before. A slide tackle wouldn't work here. The woman, Su Gao, sighed sadly, bowed, and said she had to clear all contaminated people in the area. As she moved to strike again, Fu Qian, knowing he couldn't dodge, took the hit but calmly gave his name and asked hers. Surprised, she said Su Gao before he died again. Back at the warehouse, Fu Qian pieced it together. Su Gao was a night watchman on a mission to purge the area indiscriminately, including him. He went back in and called her name right away. Su Gao froze, surprised. Fu Qian told her there was no time to explain and that she needed to cooperate. When she asked how he knew her name, he dodged by asking about the situation outside. She said it wasn't good. Fu Qian then fired an air bullet at her face. The porcelain side of her head shattered like glass but didn't bleed, proving her abnormal nature. Shocked and angry, Su Gao immediately killed him again. Back in the warehouse, Fu Qian analyzed what happened. Su Gao's porcelain body didn't bleed and marked her as a powerful force of order. His attacks could hurt beings like her. He felt no guilt since she had tried to kill him multiple times. Checking his rewards, he found he'd gained the cat school skill, which made his movements lighter, more agile, and better for stealth attacks. This death had been worth it. Fu Qian touched the mist gate that had reappeared in the warehouse and followed Su Gao outside. The street, which should have been busy, was completely empty. Above them, the sky was covered by a huge turtle shell pattern, like a giant umbrella blocking the view. Su Gao's tension made sense now. Fu Qian asked if everyone had been evacuated. Su Gao said only those who could be evacuated were, and that they arrived too late. Near the source of the pollution, mutations had started, and cursed citizens were turning into deformed creatures. Her team was now cleaning up the cursed survivors. Fu Qian realized they were facing the same disaster he had encountered. He admitted he was also contaminated and barely holding the curse back. He said he wouldn't last long and would tell them when to use their knives, but first he had to fulfill his duty. Claiming to be a transcendent was his way to gain some trust. Then a middle-aged captain arrived with the night watchman squad. The captain asked what was going on, and Su Gao pointed out Fu Qian. The captain questioned Fu Qian's authority since there were 4 official night watchmen present and Fu Qian looked like an ordinary person. Before the captain could respond, a young, burly buzzcut man covered in blood and with red eyes rushed forward, ready to attack. Fu Qian warned the captain that the man was likely contaminated and should be dealt with immediately. The buzzcut man ignored him and prepared to strike. Fu Qian confirmed he was cursed but was holding it back at the cost of his strength. He demonstrated a weak air bullet from his fingertip that hit a street lamp, proving he was a transcendent but barely able to fight. The captain stopped the buzzcut man and asked Fu Qian's name. Fu Qian gave it simply. When an older night watchman asked about the contamination source, Fu Qian warned they didn't have much time. He said the curse came from an evil presence of extremely high stature, and what they saw was only a small part of its leaked power. If it fully descended, the consequences would be unimaginable. The captain then explained their squad had recently reported abnormal events and a large casualty incident here. They shared the same goal. Fu Qian said he understood the curse's horror and would need their help to free him from it. The captain, moved by Fu Qian's determination, accepted the uneasy alliance. Fu Qian raised his hand, pointing upward, and the 4 enforcers he'd just recruited fell in line smoothly. Their mission was to reach the side of the godson and deliver their cargo, and Fu Qian wasn't bluffing. They stepped out into a street where shadows thickened quickly, the air feeling heavy and sharp like invisible needles. The team leader, his face cold as charcoal, gave firm orders. Since Fu Qian was wounded, he told the porcelain-skinned Su Gao to watch him closely. Whether to protect or monitor was unclear, but Fu Qian didn't object. The group moved cautiously through the cramped, older residential area, weapons ready. The mood was tense and silent. Few could stay calm after killing their own kind, even with good reason. Near the center of the shadows, a window burst open and a gray blur shot at Fu Qian's face. Su Gao's blade and Fu Qian's air bullet hit it at the same time. The creature stumbled, then Su Gao sliced it in two. Fu Qian got a deep gash on his shoulder but barely noticed the pain. He stepped back and finally saw the attacker. Once human, now a twisted mass of black hair and grime. Its body stretched then snapped back, legs mostly pulled into its torso. The crew-cut man exhaled, saying it was the first time he'd seen such a curse. The team leader asked about Fu Qian's wound. Fu Qian downplayed it and urged them to keep moving. The leader, impressed by Fu Qian's calm, became more certain he was a transcendent, someone used to life and death, and decided to find a way to lift Fu Qian's curse after this. Suddenly, the crew-cut man cursed about the number of enemies. Maggot people swarmed from windows, rooftops, and pipes, surrounding the 5 of them. The leader ordered a retreat, and Fu Qian happily rewarded every enemy he hit with an air bullet, keeping count since kills might affect rewards. He used the fight to sharpen his aim, and soon every shot was a headshot thanks to the cat school's bonuses. They turned a corner into a large hall where nearly 100 figures in human clothes were bent over, swaying to some rhythm. The sight made Fu Qian queasy. The captain's face darkened. He tried to speak, but the always silent old man interrupted, saying this was beyond their jurisdiction and should be reported. The buzzcut man accused the old man of chickening out, and the old man admitted it, saying he only did what his duties allowed. A tense argument followed. The captain asked what to do. The buzzcut man warned they might turn this place into a living hell, and the old man reminded them they still didn't know what caused the contamination curse. Fu Qian calmly said his own statements weren't entirely true, hinting at hidden motives. The captain insisted they couldn't just leave. The old man pulled out a ragged black notebook and tossed it to Fu Qian, saying at least they had that. He explained he'd kept it hidden because he didn't trust the captain. Fu Qian asked to see it. The captain called it important, but the buzzcut man objected. The captain handed it over, saying it was linked to another case they were investigating and he'd already checked it. Nothing unusual. Fu Qian flipped through the thin notebook, frowning at a section that was completely unreadable. He asked what it meant. The others looked shocked. The buzzcut man asked if he was joking. Fu Qian said no, that part was all messed up and blank to them. The captain handed him a stick and told him to copy the blank section. Explaining that to them it appeared empty. Fu Qian confirmed he was the only one who could see the hidden text in the old man's notebook. He figured his inspiration, which improved perception of unseen things, was the reason. With time running out, he quickly sketched the strange passage on the ground while the others looked on confused. The team stared at the odd script, unsure if it was cuneiform or some kind of code. The captain asked Su Gao, the tech expert, who said it was a special cipher but would take too long to decode. Time they didn't have. Disappointed, Fu Qian offered to try, admitting he didn't understand it yet but was confident he could learn. This annoyed the crew-cut man, who had long been irritated by Fu Qian's unexplained presence and attitude. He attacked, aiming to kill Fu Qian, but a sudden warning made him turn just as an air bullet grazed his neck and another destroyed his left eye. Without hesitation, Fu Qian fired 3 air bullets at the captain. A blinding electrical burst exploded from the captain's body, and Fu Qian felt his body liquefy. He found himself back in the warehouse. Containment failed. Fu Qian realized the captain had been holding back a powerful weapon. His attack wasn't reckless. It was a test, since the captain's hesitation suggested he was relying on something. The weapon's power was confirmed by the instant, deadly electric blast. At home, Fu Qian painstakingly copied the complex characters from memory, a task so hard it felt like his head might burst. Thanks to his inspiration and broad interests, he began decoding. Hours later, He uncovered the text described a ritual where an evil presence would descend deep underground. Armed with this, Fu Qian returned to the containment scene with 27 SAN points. This time he cut off the old man before he could consult his notes and asked the captain if there was any deep underground space nearby. He explained the ritual involved something descending beneath the earth. Su Gao confirmed this, pointing to a high-security underground vault beneath the building. Fu Qian silently admired her knowledge. Such places weren't cheap. When he asked if she knew how to get there, Su Gao drew her sword and sliced through the crowd of maggot people, clearing a path. She led the group toward a descending escalator as the maggot people slowly converged behind them. The team escaped into the depths below. The tunnel grew almost pitch black until, after an uncounted stretch, a faint glow appeared ahead. A sharp, overwhelming odor hit them, and without waiting for the captain, the crew snapped into combat stance. Felt like the right spot. Fu Qian fell in behind Su Gao, slipping through a huge metal door into a restricted area. Fu Qian entered a large hall scattered with clothes. Pale, worm-like creatures writhed on the floor, tangled together. In their center stood a woman in a deep red gown, calmly sipping tea despite bloody holes in her cheeks. The scene shocked Fu Qian and his 4 teammates. The captain quickly recovered and ordered an attack after noticing the woman's swollen belly. Clearly a boss. The crew-cut man and the old man charged. The crew-cut man's thunderous punch and the old man's burst of flames overwhelmed the woman. Meanwhile, the captain readied his ultimate weapon. A forearm-length device with a glowing globe crackling with electricity. The same one that had knocked Fu Qian down before. Su Gao, the porcelain-faced woman, guarded him. Just as the captain fired his lightning railgun, a sharp cry rang out. The crew-cut man was thrown against a wall, then impaled by a bone blade that shot from the woman's back. Fu Qian's head spun, losing 5 SAN points at the sight. The woman, now a terrifying figure with bone claws piercing her gown, swiftly sliced the old man in half. The captain's lightning blast surrounded the woman and the old man's corpse, but she quickly wove black threads into a cocoon that blocked the attack just long enough to escape. She appeared in front of the captain, letting out a piercing wail that made him tremble and bleed. 3 bone blades pierced him, lifting him into the air. Fu Qian fired air bullets, but they bounced off her without effect. An alert announced the evil god's offspring had arrived and containment failed. The scene blurred as Su Gao made a desperate strike. Back in the storeroom, Fu Qian's head ached. He reviewed the fight and realized their straightforward plan had failed. The woman's speed and strange shield made the captain's powerful weapon useless. It was a rush, not a smart move. A prompt asked if he wanted to spend 1 SAN point to try again. Fu Qian agreed, already with a new plan. Back in the hall, just as the captain was about to order an attack, Fu Qian stopped him. He said startling the woman would ruin their chance to use the thing in her arms and told the 2 crew-cut men to stay put. The crew-cut men were angry, but the captain, surprised by Fu Qian's knowledge, held them back. He trusted Fu Qian's judgment. Carefully avoiding the mess on the floor, Fu Qian sat opposite the transformed woman and greeted her calmly. Fu Qian entered the dim hall and greeted the elegant lady with a flirty hello. Her eyes flickered with a beast-like haze but cleared enough to hold a conversation. Sensing danger, Fu Qian pressed on with a crude invitation. The lady laughed, covered her mouth, and said she liked children, her smile turning sickly sweet. The 4 onlookers were horrified as blood smeared her face and spread across her chest, making her look demonic. Fu Qian, oblivious, kept up his crude talk while the captain, realizing Fu Qian's distraction was buying time, shouted for cover and gathered his ultimate weapon. Lightning crackled around the captain's hand and struck the lady, turning her body to ash. From her belly, a shadowy figure burst out, breaking barriers before exploding into black mist. The night watchman sighed in relief. The captain, drained, barely said to check the surroundings before an old man appeared behind him, smiling. Bone-shaped blades sprouted from the old man's withered hand and instantly killed the captain. The team stared in disbelief. This thing didn't die. Back in the warehouse, Fu Qian reflected on the failed containment. The mission prompt never appeared after the lady's death, and the old man's sudden attack suggested the evil god could survive host destruction by possessing another body. He recalled the old man mentioning a ritual notebook he'd found, the source of the ritual cipher. If the notebook was the key, the god could keep descending by jumping into new hosts. Determined, Fu Qian re-entered the hall in his expert avatar, again distracting the captain with flirtation. When the captain unleashed his lightning, Fu Qian didn't stay but fired 5 air bullets at the captain's weapon as the black shadow dissolved. The lightning erupted violently, sending a blue-white shockwave through the room. When it cleared, the old man lay charred. The captain and the cropped-hair man were near death, and only the porcelain-like woman Su Gao remained, her body cracked like glass. Fu Qian, still bruised and without a containment success prompt, scanned the wreckage and spotted a notebook near the old man's corpse, its pages flipping on their own. He grabbed it, feeling a sharp pain in his palm as a cold, shadowy presence flooded his mind, filling him with a murderous urge. The evil god was trying to possess him through the notebook. He lifted his right hand, feeling a wound under his ribcage, realizing the fight was far from over. Fu Qian looked up and took a deep breath, finally using the skill he'd never had a chance to try. Visceral critical strike. Without hesitation, he plunged his hand into the wound beneath the ribcage. His fingers twisted and stretched like snakes, growing tiny tentacles that penetrated deep into the flesh. Then he clenched his hand and unleashed the strike. Blood splattered everywhere, and Fu Qian felt his body and mind hollowing out, losing 7 SAN points. The pain stopped, and he stood confidently as the captain and Su Gao stared in shock. A notification confirmed the containment of 2 to 133 was successful, and Fu Qian was back in the warehouse, the anomalies gone. The mission evaluation, called God-Blocking Demise, praised him for stopping the evil god's offspring and dealing irreparable damage, earning him the title of a mad yet calm thug. Despite heavy night watchman losses, Fu Qian had killed the godson and 22 maggot people. His rewards included 31 SAN points, raising his total to 43, and 5 inspiration points. The main prize was a special kill reward, Thug. The Thug reward was a consumable transcendent form that would irreversibly upgrade him. Promised a stronger body and faster speed, breaking human limits. Fu Qian hesitated only briefly. Could he really become superhuman just by using this item? It was too good to pass up. He confirmed, and a warm current surged through him. His heart pounded like a revving engine, muscles contracting and expanding. When he opened his eyes, he felt a new power. His body was no longer ordinary but like steel wires under his skin. This reward was truly worthy of slaying a god and would boost his chances in future missions. As the system announced the end of his workday, Fu Qian felt exhausted. He took off his badge and found himself back in his apartment. He hadn't eaten all day, but as he thought about dinner, he noticed his clothes were suddenly too tight, buttons straining. Rushing to the bathroom, he saw a familiar yet strange reflection. His once lean body was now perfectly sculpted, every muscle sharply defined and full of explosive power. The mission reward had taken physical form. He washed his face, trying to process it all. Though called a thug, he hadn't grown a scruffy beard. His skin was even smoother. Was this the new style, a thug in a suit? Testing his new strength, he pointed a finger at a water bottle. An invisible air bullet pierced it, spilling water everywhere. Fu Qian had never thought about what he'd do if he suddenly stopped being human. The 30,000 a day had changed how he saw money, but becoming a thug changed his whole idea of life. He digested this reality over a burger and Coke at McDonald's, a ritual after every big job. He'd always been practical, not one for gloomy, artsy thoughts. Now that the pressure to survive was gone and he might not even be human anymore, he found the feeling thrilling. Nothing was more valuable than having more choices. As he thought this, his phone suddenly rang. Fu Qian's friend Qin Mingze called, surprised to hear Fu Qian was actually eating out. Qin Mingze came from a wealthy family, was talented and social, and now interned at a big law firm. When they met, Qin Mingze was shocked by Fu Qian's new muscular build and asked what happened. Fu Qian said he'd been working out. Qin Mingze joked Fu Qian was made to be a kept man, and Fu Qian played along. After Qin Mingze dropped off some local products, Fu Qian went home, amused by his friend's reaction. The next day, Fu Qian got a containment breach alert for anomaly 2 to 292. The cocoon room, filled with flickering black and white cocoons. His mission was to protect Wen Li and ensure she advanced to the 6th phase. Fu Qian disliked protection missions but accepted. His thug skill was now fully integrated, so he chose Air Bullet, Visceral Critical Strike, and Cat School. Expecting chaos, Fu Qian instead arrived in a peaceful place with blue skies, clear water, and grand white villas. A huge, muscular bodyguard warned him not to look around and explained the Wen family had hired them after 2 assassination attempts, including one by a transcendent. Wen Li, the Wen family's daughter, was a rare psychic transcendent secretly nurtured and about to reach the 6th phase. Her success would raise the family's status but also made her a target. Fu Qian realized his job was to protect Wen Li during this critical time and wondered how strong a 6th phase transcendent really was. He realized the whole mess boiled down to a transcendence promotion, and he couldn't see how that tied to the containment items stored in the warehouse. Fu Qian and Captain Gu were waiting in the villa when a butler arrived with a formal greeting. The butler's smile vanished as a sleek car pulled up, and a young man in a white suit stepped out, flanked by 3 companions. He announced himself as young Master Yi, demanding to know where his sister Wen Li was, while the butler pointed out that the young miss was already resting inside. Seeing the newcomers, Fu Qian sensed they were transcendents, powerful figures far beyond ordinary guards. Captain Gu, though experienced, warned that they were likely just cannon fodder against such foes and that the priority was to sound the alarm, not rush in. Young Master Yi, however, zeroed in on Fu Qian, mocking his appearance and demanding a demonstration of his strength. Captain Gu hesitated, aware that a fight with a transcendent would be reckless, but young Master Yi pressed on, insisting that Fu Qian prove himself. Fu Qian, eager to avoid idle talk, accepted the challenge. Young Master Yi, amused, suggested Fu Qian spar with his little girl instead. The girl, a flamboyantly dressed teen with dyed hair and heavy eye makeup, flashed a mischievous grin and produced 2 gleaming blades, ready to test the bodyguard's skill. Fu Qian found himself facing a woman transformed into a Wolverine-like figure, her hands tipped with vicious blades. Captain Gu, standing nearby, subtly signaled him to concede, but Fu Qian waved him off. He wasn't worried. The blades looked intimidating but weren't long enough to cause serious damage unless they hit a vital spot. He figured those who relied on such flashy tricks usually weren't that strong. The woman, whom he mentally dubbed the little wolf girl, smiled charmingly and licked a blade before lunging. She moved incredibly fast, but Fu Qian barely reacted, simply turning his head to easily dodge her strike. He felt no thrill, no sense of danger, nothing like the terrifying blade light he'd once faced from Miss One. He realized he was either too strong or she was too weak. Ignoring the surprised woman, Fu Qian's gaze drifted to young Master Yi and the middle-aged man accompanying him. That man, Fu Qian sensed, was the real threat, far more capable than the little wolf girl. To get him to act, Fu Qian knew he'd need to provoke him. The little wolf girl, clearly feeling disrespected, attacked again with even greater speed. But this time, Fu Qian simply grabbed her wrist, stopping her mid-lunge. He was surprised by his own strength, realizing just how powerful he had become. He asked her transcendent phase and she, now clearly terrified, stammered that she was 8th phase. Fu Qian scoffed internally. His thug form was far more potent than he'd imagined, making her feel like no challenge at all. Feeling no pity for her malicious intent to disfigure him, Fu Qian tightened his grip. The little wolf girl screamed as her blades clattered to the ground. Before she could recover, he delivered a wild kick, sending her flying like a cannonball into the car they'd arrived in, leaving her struggling to get up. Young Master Yi and Captain Gu stared in disbelief. The middle-aged man, now wary, stepped forward to shield young Master Yi. Fu Qian, far from alarmed, felt a surge of elation. Finally, a real challenge. He was ready to take them all down. But just as the fight was about to escalate, a jarring message echoed in his mind. Wen Li had died, the containment failed, and he was penalized 5 SAN points for dereliction of duty. Fu Qian, instantly teleported back to the warehouse, was stunned. Wen Li, a high-level transcendent in a heavily guarded mansion, had died without a sound. He realized this mission was far more complex than he'd thought, and he blamed young Master Yi and his crew for the distraction. He immediately chose to replay the event, confirming Wen Li's death at precisely 5 minutes and 12 seconds. Consuming 1 SAN point, he restarted the containment. This time, he wasted no time. He approached Captain Gu, asking about Miss One. Captain Gu, surprised by Fu Qian's knowledge, explained that Wen Li was a genius psychic transcendent, but incredibly fragile physically before reaching the middle tier. This vulnerability made her a prime target for assassins trying to eliminate her before she became too powerful. With this crucial information and the knowledge that Wen Li would die in just over 5 minutes, Fu Qian knew he had to act fast. As young Master Ye's car approached, signaling the start of the previous confrontation, Fu Qian quietly moved to a large stone pillar. With a powerful kick, he sent it crashing down, creating instant chaos and triggering alarms. Amidst the pandemonium, Fu Qian slipped past the distracted guards and into the villa, his true mission now clear. Fu Qian burst into the lavish villa with the timer counting down, alarms blaring as he pushed through the crowd. He grabbed a stone table, threw it like a frisbee to scatter the bodyguards, and kicked open a door. Inside, a young woman in a fine dress, Wen Li, sat at a table holding a bowl of soup. Fu Qian fired an air bullet, shattering the bowl and drenching her in hot soup. A middle-aged man and his men rushed in, surrounding Fu Qian. The man demanded to know who he was and who sent him. Fu Qian ignored the questions and kept counting the seconds. When the mission failure alert didn't appear, he told the man he was Fu Qian, an elite member of Captain Gu's team, sent to save his daughter. The man, Wen Shouxian, looked confused and asked again who sent Fu Qian. Fu Qian pointed to Wen Li and said he had just saved her. Everyone's attention shifted to a maid behind Wen Li. The maid, Fang Ting, denied knowing anything. Wen Shouxian ordered the soup's remains tested, which confirmed it was poisoned. He questioned Fang Ting, who kept insisting she didn't know. After a few more questions, Wen Shouxian had his men drag her away. Suddenly, Fang Ting stopped pleading, screamed wildly, broke free from two guards, and lunged at the stunned Wen Li, trying to bite her. A guard punched Fang Ting, sending her flying before she could bite anyone. Fu Qian watched quietly, thinking the one family couldn't even handle a desperate maid. Then he saw the man who saved Wen Li, a middle-aged companion of young Master Yi, examine Fang Ting and say she must have been hypnotized, suggesting the enemy had an expert in hypnosis. When Shouxian thanked him, calling him Master Ji, young Master Yi stepped forward, laughing, and said that with them there, nothing would happen to Wen Li. Before a wall suddenly shattered. A huge white pillar smashed through the room, engulfing Wen Li. The pillar was actually a stone-covered monster at least 3 meters tall, with a hollow spherical head. It stood beside the broken pillar Fu Qian had kicked earlier, then hurled that pillar like a javelin, killing Wen Li instantly. The monster's thick stone shell blocked the bodyguard's attacks, and after breaking through, it plunged into the lake beside the villa and disappeared. Fu Qian slipped back into the warehouse, still buzzing from the hit he'd just pulled. The whole thing had been a clean job. A maid was hypnotized, the target poisoned, and if that failed, transcendent beings waited outside, ready to strike using the maid's help. Miss One was barely alive. Back at the villa, Fu Qian reopened his mist gate and repeated his trick, kicking a stone pillar to create a distraction, then blending into the crowd. He burst through the door just as Wen Li lifted a bowl of soup. Fu Qian shouted for her to stop and blasted the bowl with an air bullet, drenching her. He spared the maid Fang Ting, letting Wen Shouxian's men control her. Killing her might have let the outside assassin slip away. He timed it so the stone giant outside would attack from the same direction, kicking the same pillar as before. When Shouxian and the maid reached their deadly confrontation, and as the maid lunged at Wen Li, Fu Qian rushed forward, shoving Wen Li into a corner. Wen Li's father roared in anger, but before he could act, the middle-aged man surnamed Ji threw a silent, powerful punch at Fu Qian. Fu Qian met the blow without flinching, feeling a sharp sting in his arm, the first time anyone had made him bleed. Ji staggered back, flushed, when a roar split the air. A white stone pillar crashed through the wall where Wen Li had stood, scattering debris. When Shouxian froze, staring at the pillar that could have killed his daughter, Fu Qian ignored him, grabbed the pillar, and, impressed it was unbroken, pulled it free. He hurled it back like a javelin. It flew dozens of meters and struck the stone giant outside. The giant, heavily armored but slow, tried to dodge, but the stone smashed its right leg in two. Blood splattered as it crashed down. Fu Qian jumped through the hole in the wall after it. The giant grabbed young Master Ye's wrecked car and threw it at another pillar, shattering it. Rocks on the ground moved, forming a new leg for the giant, which staggered toward the lake. Fu Qian kicked another pillar, sending it into the giant's back. The impact smashed the creature, stripping its stone armor and revealing a naked, unconscious man in underwear. Bodyguards swarmed, but a sudden explosion knocked them out one by one. One guard lifted the unconscious man and dove into the water. An accomplice had been hidden among them. When Shouxian and his group arrived then, he stared at Fu Qian and asked if this was how he treated the man who saved his daughter. Fu Qian, hands behind his back, said he was just fulfilling someone's request. Someone who didn't want her dead, and pointed at Captain Gu, claiming to be an elite member of his team. Young Master Yi warned Uncle Wen not to trust Fu Qian blindly, since his background was unknown. When Shouxian pressed Fu Qian on who sent him, Fu Qian said he didn't want unnecessary killings because heaven cherishes life. Inside, he wasn't eager to kill the assassin. Keeping him alive gave leverage, and killing him would have raised Wen Xiuxian's suspicions. Plus, the assassin had cost him a SAN point, a loss he couldn't forgive. With the stone giant defeated, the maid still controlled, and the mystery of who hired Fu Qian unresolved, the confrontation ended not with a clean kill but with a tense new alliance forged in blood and stone. Wen Li spoke for the first time, and a weak voice suddenly interjected, saying they believed him. Wen Li stepped forward and said she believed Fu Qian, surprising everyone. Her father, Wen Xiuxian, watched her nervously as she bowed to Fu Qian and thanked him for saving her life, asking forgiveness if her father had offended him. She added that she hoped to keep relying on Fu Qian in the future. Fu Qian agreed, warning that the situation was still tense and ordering everyone to follow his plans. Young Master Yi tried to challenge Fu Qian's orders, but was stopped by a sharp slap that made him stumble. Fu Qian then blocked a punch and a kick from a middle-aged man surnamed Ji, stepping back lightly. Ji's mouth bled from the clash, but he still rushed to support Yi, unable to protect him in time. Ji glared at Fu Qian and was told to kill him by Yi, whose cheek burned with humiliation and anger. Ji held back, knowing Fu Qian's strength and speed were terrifying and that fighting him could end badly, especially if he got hurt. Wen Xiuxian stood up to calm the situation, comforting young Master Yi and sending him to rest. The butler began cleaning the wreckage. The estate was badly damaged, with broken pillars and a hole where Fu Qian and the stone giant had fought. The destruction showed how much Fu Qian had changed, from an average homebody days ago to a powerful fighter with enhanced strength, speed, and healing thanks to his thug form. After things settled, Wen Xiuxian invited Fu Qian and Captain Gu inside. He led them to a room set up for Wen Li to rest, then apologized for any earlier offense and thanked Fu Qian for protecting her. Fu Qian said it was his duty and straightened his uniform before they talked about the recent attacks. Wen Xiuxian, still uneasy, asked Captain Gu for more help, noting how strange Fu Qian's sudden rise to transcendent was. He asked Fu Qian who he thought attacked them. Fu Qian said he didn't know and that the big, foolish one wasn't the hardest to deal with. He pointed out that the attacker's helper was skilled in disguise and infiltration, making it easy for them to slip into the crowded house. When Xiuxian concluded the attackers were a professional, well-coordinated assassin team, not a random group. He planned to investigate, focusing on a transcendent who could become a stone giant, a hypnotist, and the assassin squad. Fu Qian suggested Wen Li hide alone in the panic room, with only him allowed inside to minimize contact. When Xiuxian rejected this, questioning Fu Qian's authority given his unclear background, Wen Li interrupted, telling her father to rest and saying she would talk with Fu Qian. She thanked Fu Qian again, not for saving her life this time, but for slapping young Master Yi, something she'd wanted to do for a long time. The tension eased as the family left, leaving Fu Qian to think about the attackers and his uneasy new role with the one family. When Li's question about a contradiction caught Fu Qian's attention. She looked like a refined noblewoman but spoke bluntly about being slapped, which surprised him. She admitted her trouble came from an arranged marriage. Fu Qian, used to dealing with second-generation elites like young Master Qin, saw through her flattery and nodded when she described the suffocating expectations of her wealthy family. He dryly reminded her that freedom comes from power, not privilege. The talk shifted to Master Ji. Wen Li said he became a sixth-phase transcendent 5 years ago and was now incredibly powerful. Fu Qian, confident old Ji wasn't a match for him, figured he must be at least sixth phase himself. His thug form was terrifying enough. Wen Li explained why she felt fragile despite rumors she was close to sixth phase. She described the psychic system's 9 phases, with the top 3 as initial tier and the middle 3 as middle tier. Before reaching middle tier, vitality gains are barely noticeable. Her ability was one of the least aggressive, a mirror that reflected others' emotions. The stronger and closer the feelings, the clearer the reflection. This made her perceptive but forced her to constantly absorb others' emotions, nearly causing a mental breakdown. She said this constant emotional influx made her hate Yang. Being near him brought especially bad feelings. By contrast, Fu Qian's strong aura carried no malice, which she found reassuring. When Fu Qian asked if she just talked with her father, she confirmed it, saying his ease in letting her go showed acceptance. Wen Li added that as her talent grew, she could slightly influence others' emotions, making it harder for anyone to act against her will. Still, her reputation as an imminent sixth phase felt hollow. She wished she didn't have this talent since it brought trouble without protecting her family. Fu Qian told her to look on the bright side. Without it, young Master Yi might never have noticed her. Finally, Fu Qian's own comforting skill, known for its intense effect, showed on her face. She realized that before her current status, she'd gotten little respect or help in business and feared others would be disappointed by her quasi-sixth phase rank. Fu Qian told Wenli not to underestimate herself, pointing out that even a middle-tier transcendence proliferation gene was valuable. Wenli, unusually serious, asked him again for help, admitting she'd already been forced into a job she hated because someone had asked on her behalf. Fu Qian said duty couldn't be avoided. He mocked the one family's wealth, saying they should have hired a transcendent bodyguard. Wenli admitted they had hired one before, paying a lot for a guard nearly as strong as Master Ji, but he had been captured by the night watchman after an accident. She explained their family's shady business had made the night watchman hostile, making it hard to find a replacement quickly. Fu Qian expressed real relief at Wenli stepping in and asked her to keep their talk secret, worried about the Yi family's opinion. Then he whispered that someone was eavesdropping. Wenli looked up, startled, and Fu Qian kicked the bench she was sitting on, sending her flying out as he shouted there was an assassin. Thanks to his heightened perception, Fu Qian spotted the eavesdropper clinging to the wall, a little wolf girl he had kicked away earlier. He grabbed a heavy metal paperweight and threw it at the wall. It smashed through, hitting the girl and knocking her down from the 4th floor. She landed on a vital spot and died instantly. When Xiaoxin rushed in, shocked by the hole and his daughter's fall, young Master Yi arrived and stared at the corpse with a dark expression. Fu Qian claimed credit for killing the assassin, saying he had discovered the ambush. When Xiaoxin, annoyed by the repeated attacks, thanked Fu Qian, saying without him Li might have been in danger again. He apologized to Yi Yang and Master Ji for the disturbance. Master Ji said they had come after hearing the alarm and would do their best to help. The group exchanged thanks, unaware the dead infiltrator had been sent by Yi Yang to spy. Fu Qian knew the little wolf girl's death was unnecessary but accepted it as the cost of protecting the one family. Yi Yang spied on Fu Qian to learn his past and plant seeds for a slow revenge. Doing it inside the one family's house showed how little he trusted Wen Xiaoxian and his kin, especially after Wen Li's daytime warning. To finish his task, Yi Yang had to keep any danger to Wen Li low, so he decided to intimidate the one family and stop them from pulling any more stunts, at least for now. Dusk settled over the one family mansion after the day's chaos, leaving the grand house battered but still standing. Fu Qian, the lone transcendent who had fought off the attackers, earned the family's wary respect. Wen Li, tired but polite, thanked him and offered a room, noting that the mansion's security was basically useless. Its defenses only worked against ordinary assassins, not a stealthy non-human like Fu Qian. The next morning, Fu Qian woke in a lavish guest suite. Wen Li, looking more refreshed after breakfast, asked him to check the security. He said there was nothing left to improve. The real threat was already inside. When she suggested hiding in a safe house, Wen Li hesitated, wanting to wait for her father's return. Before her father came back, a servant announced a special guest. The door opened and a woman dressed in black, with a commanding presence, entered. She scanned the room and fixed her gaze on Fu Qian, asking if he was Mr. Fu. He replied coolly that it was possible. When Li's expression darkened, the woman introduced herself as group leader Tan Mingxue of the Night Watchman's second team and ordered Fu Qian to come with her. When Li protested, accusing Tan of targeting the one family again. Fu Qian realized she meant the Night Watchman, recalling the previous night when the family's hired bodyguard had been taken away for being unclean. That had been their first visit. This was the second. Fu Qian remembered his quick research on the Night Watchman, a huge, powerful organization controlling all transcendental powers and keeping order across the world. Their strength made ordinary people safe but also let them act arrogantly. Tan dismissed Wen Li's concerns, saying the Night Watchman wasn't bored enough to target the family, and warned Fu Qian that he couldn't just kill someone here and pretend nothing happened. The tension hinted at a deeper conflict between the one family, the Night Watchman, and Fu Qian's own hidden agenda. The Night Watchman's group leader Tan Mingxue accused Fu Qian of killing a transcendent. Fu Qian stayed calm, denying it and saying the man had fallen from the 4th floor. Tan Mingxue insisted that any incident involving transcendence was under their jurisdiction and demanded he come with her, warning her patience was limited. Wen Li, anxious, defended Fu Qian as her hired bodyguard who had only acted against an assassin. Tan Mingxue softened but still pressed for his cooperation. Fu Qian suspected young Master Yi, who had been absent all day, was using the night watchman to dig into his background after failing himself. He weighed his options. Comply and leave when Li with bodyguards and Yi family protection, or refuse and fight his way out. A risky move he called Shura mode. Deciding the fight was too dangerous without knowing their strength, he chose to cooperate and size them up. As he left with Tan Mingxue, Fu Qian saw Master Ji but not young Master Yi, confirming Yi was hiding, likely afraid of Fu Qian's reaction. After a long drive, they reached the night watchman's base. From outside, it looked ordinary in a busy city, but inside, special materials and serious, strong personnel showed its true nature. In an office, Tan Mingxue questioned Fu Qian about his name and why he wasn't registered as a transcendent. Fu Qian confirmed his name and said he was a recent transcendent. Tan Mingxue doubted this, noting his sixth phase strength made such quick progress unlikely. Fu Qian joked he gained insight after observing celestial phenomena. Frustrated, Tan Mingxue asked about the assassin. Fu Qian said he only injured him. The man's fall caused his death, and he was just doing his job as a bodyguard. Tan Mingxue mocked his low monthly salary, and Fu Qian joked it was about slim profit and building a reputation. Just as Tan Mingxue was about to lose her temper, a bespectacled man named Qi Shui entered. Tan Mingxue called Fu Qian unreasonable and handed over the questioning. Qi Shui introduced himself and explained their inquiry was routine, since a middle-tier master appeared in their area. He acknowledged fights and deaths among transcendents were common and they couldn't intervene in every case. Fu Qian appreciated the professionalism. Qi Shui asked why a master like Fu Qian worked as a bodyguard for the one family. Fu Qian said he was entrusted by someone but refused to say who. After a few more questions, Qi Shui ended the interview, saying Fu Qian's record was clean, the conflict was part of his duties, and the lack of previous records was now resolved. He told Fu Qian he was free to go. Tan Mingxue protested, but Qi Shui stopped her. Then he asked Fu Qian if he had questions. Fu Qian paused, then asked how many people in the base were as capable as Qi Shui and Tan Mingxue. At the night watchman base, Fu Qian asked Qi Shui and Tan Mingxue how many powerful people like them existed. Tan Mingxue looked wary, and Qi Shui confirmed there weren't many. Though the city had many night watchmen, only a few were at their level, with one strong boss above them all. Fu Qian took this as key information for his mission. As he was about to leave, Qi Shui offered to explain why the one family was in trouble. Fu Qian, focused on his mission, wasn't interested but stopped to avoid suspicion. Qi Shui said the night watchmen weren't targeting the one family, but they're wide-ranging. Sometimes shady business caused problems just by following the rules. Fu Qian dismissed this as nonsense and pressed for the real reason they disliked Wen Li. Qi Shui laughed, impressed by Fu Qian's strength and smarts, while Tan Mingxue called him ruthless with mysterious origins. Qi Shui revealed the real issue was Wen Li herself. She was a rare mental transcendent whose abilities had been watched closely. At first, they hoped to guide her, but recently her file was downgraded to observe and respond accordingly, meaning no intervention. Fu Qian realized this meant something unusual about Wen Li, likely linked to the strange items in the warehouse, confirming his suspicions. Back at the one family mansion, escorted by Qi Shui's group, Fu Qian became the subject of rumors. Wen Li, relieved to see him, asked if he'd been mistreated. He said he'd had a pleasant conversation, surprising her. Remembering Qi Shui's words, Fu Qian wondered if he was stuck as her bodyguard if she never advanced. He asked Wen Li when she expected to reach the sixth phase. Her expression changed and she asked if he had new plans. She said she'd been at the seventh phase for a while and felt close to breaking through, but mental advancements needed a certain opportunity, so timing was uncertain though soon. She promised that once she advanced, she could protect herself and wouldn't hold him up. Suddenly, Wen Li noticed her father, Wen Shouxian, returning early from a failed trip. He thanked Fu Qian for his help. As Fu Qian talked with Wen Shouxian, he watched Wen Li closely. Her surprise faded into confusion and unease. Fu Qian's suspicion grew sharp. Then, without warning, Fu Qian kicked Wen Li hard, sending her flying. As soon as Wen Li was kicked away, a fierce power exploded where she had stood. Fu Qian saw Wen Shouxian's head swell until his whole body burst into a cloud of red mist. He stepped forward to block the attack, colliding with the storm of flesh and blood. The impact shook him deeply, and countless tiny spikes tore into his body. The storm destroyed everything nearby, even turning a half-wall into honeycomb. When the storm cleared, Fu Qian looked at his left arm below the shoulder. His skin was gone, exposing flesh full of holes and white bone. He noted the attack's huge destructive power, worse than anything he'd faced before, but the injury wasn't fatal. Calmly, he straightened his exposed blood vessels. Fu Qian knew this wasn't a random attack. While enduring the storm, he kept his senses sharp and locked onto a specific aura. Using the storm's recoil, he kicked through a crumbling wall and flashed toward the source, a man blending in with bodyguards outside. Fu Qian's kick struck fast and hard, but the target twisted, his body stretching oddly to dodge. Still, Fu Qian's nearly fleshless left hand, now showing bone, slammed into him with a powerful claw. The hit crushed the target. A system prompt confirmed his progress. Thug assimilation 1/3. A warm current surged through Fu Qian, stronger than before. His exposed bones gleamed faintly metallic as flesh quickly regrew and wounds healed. He realized he'd transformed significantly and felt confident he could now defeat Master Ji in seconds. The phrase invasion like fire, momentum like thunder, seemed to describe his aggressive fighting style. He wondered what full assimilation would bring. He threw the corpse aside and returned to Wen Li, who was struggling to stand. She was mostly unharmed except for some blood on her forehead, likely from his kick. Trembling, she asked about the attacker. Fu Qian said it was probably an assassin but admitted it might have been her father, given the enemy's skill in disguise and hypnosis. Wen Li muttered that her father wouldn't have returned so soon, then suddenly froze, bending down to pick up a deformed watch riddled with tiny holes. A wave of agonized wails filled the air. A system alert sounded. Containment failed. Wen Li's sanity had shattered, and she lost the potential for advancement. Fu Qian stared in disbelief. The mission had failed not because Wen Li died, but because her mind broke. Back in the warehouse, Fu Qian stared at the sky, feeling the joy of leveling up fade. Escort missions were proving extremely difficult, especially with fragile, stubborn targets like Wen Li and her father. This mission, though lacking werewolves or evil gods, was just as dangerous. He realized stubbornly pushing forward wasn't the answer. He needed a new approach. Fixing his gaze on the mist gate's black and white cocoon patterns, he spent one SAN point and tried containment again. The scene reloaded. Captain Gu's familiar voice warned him not to look around. Fu Qian found himself back inside the intact Wen family mansion, taking a deep breath and ready to try again. With time running out, Fu Qian moved with ruthless efficiency. He kicked down stone columns to trigger alarms, then raced to Wen Li's room, repeating his now familiar routine of bursting through the door and clearing the immediate danger. This time, however, instead of simply pushing Wen Li aside, he met an incoming stone column, thicker than a man, with a single savage punch. The impact shattered the column into thousands of pieces, filling the room with dust and leaving everyone present stunned into silence. That was exactly the effect he wanted. When Xiuxian, Wen Li's father, was the first to recover, cautiously asking what was happening. Fu Qian, affecting a wise demeanor, simply stated there was no time for explanations. He pointed to the stone giant outside and declared that Wen Li's life depended on them reaching the bunker immediately. When Xiuxian hesitated, but the memory of Fu Qian's impossible strength made him lead the way. As the massive, 2-meter-thick metal door of the bunker slowly opened, Fu Qian realized the family's fear of death was even greater than he'd imagined. When Xiuxian explained the bunker's self-sealing mechanism and ample supplies, but still questioned the need to hide, especially from a security guard like Fu Qian cut him off, stating that only he and Wen Li would enter, and anyone else who approached without his command would face summary execution. Young Master Yi, who had just arrived, roared in protest, completely unaware of Fu Qian's earlier display of power. Fu Qian ignored him, turning to Wen Li, who, despite her disheveled state from the earlier attack, still hesitated. She asked if they could go somewhere else. Fu Qian, confirming her will to live was strong, gave no answer. Instead, he unceremoniously kicked her into the bunker and activated the switch. Young Master Yi, enraged, launched an attack, but Fu Qian used the recoil from stomping the floor to meet him. Before young Master Yi could land a blow, Master Ji, who had been silently observing, intervened. Fu Qian met Master Ji's fierce attack head-on, his recent upgrade sending the expert flying several meters. Young Master Ye's belated attack then arrived, but Fu Qian simply slapped him across the face, sending him sprawling. Master Ji, spitting blood, quickly realized Fu Qian was beyond their capabilities and urged young Master Yi to call the night watchman. As the metal door slowly closed, Fu Qian watched young Master Yi's mix of fear and resentment. Inside the spacious bunker, when Li had already gotten up, leaning against the wall, she asked why he was doing this, her voice trembling. Fu Qian calmly replied that he was saving her life, explaining that gentler methods had already been attempted in ways she couldn't comprehend. When Li then asked how long they would be confined, Fu Qian held up a finger. When she hopefully suggested a week, he shook his head, clarifying it would be just 1 day. When Li's eyes lit up, thinking the assassins would give up, Fu Qian corrected her, stating she had 1 day to break through to the 6th phase. He warned her that if she hadn't advanced by tomorrow, he would strip her bare and throw her out, adding that crying would count against her precious time. With Wen Li running out of time, Fu Qian completely changed his strategy. Instead of trying to protect her from every threat, he decided to force her advancement. He placed her in an absolutely safe spot, then laid out her stark choices. She had to use every second to complete her promotion or face public humiliation and ruin. He added that even her death would not change his plans. When Li, though resistant and hoarse from crying, quickly grasped the gravity of her situation. She asked why he was doing this, wondering if he was merely a pervert enjoying playing with human nature. Fu Qian, ever the pragmatist, simply claimed he was passing by, noticed her unique potential, and decided to enlighten her. When she tried to decline this chance, he firmly stated that some opportunities could not be refused. When Li admitted her abilities were tied to her emotions, making advancement difficult under duress. Fu Qian reminded her he had already slapped young Master Yi to cheer her up, which only confused her further. Eventually, when Li accepted her fate, calming down and beginning to meditate, Fu Qian watched her, satisfied that she was finally focusing. He reminded her of the remaining time, noting her slight shiver, and then closed his eyes, his senses heightened. He knew the supposed security of the place was only good against minor threats. Just as he expected, Fu Qian suddenly opened his eyes and blew a breath forward. An almost invisible distortion in the air, a transparent filament, drifted away. Moments later, a deep gouge appeared on the wall where his neck had been. The air stirred again, and more than 10 of these thin threads wrapped around him from all directions. Fu Qian let them, feeling them constrict, nearly cutting into his flesh. Then, with a deep breath, he flexed, and the threads snapped, scattering into the air. He had found his attacker. Fu Qian leaped up, tearing open the ventilation duct overhead. More threads tried to grab his hand, but he seized them and yanked them out forcefully. A figure dropped from the shaft, glaring at him. It was group leader Tan Mingxue, a poker-faced, middle-aged woman. Fu Qian blew the broken threads, now revealed as gray-white strands of hair, towards her. He noted her noticeably shorter hair and remarked that she had aged prematurely. Tan Mingxue's expression, initially a mix of solemnity and confusion, shifted entirely to murderous intent. She demanded to know who he was, but Fu Qian, knowing her explosive temper, decided to provoke her further. He pointed out that she had just tried to kill him, and yet she did not know who he was, questioning her approach to law enforcement. Tan Mingxue's gaze turned icy, and she gave him an ultimatum. Answer her question or speak his last words. Fu Qian simply yawned and replied that he chose neither. Calling him obstinate, Tan Mingxue's hair moved on its own, spreading out and turning into transparent threads that filled the room, transforming it into an invisible meat grinder. Fu Qian knew he had to wrap things up quickly. Wen Li, distracted by the commotion, was no longer concentrating. He needed to help her focus solely on the task at hand. Fu Qian finished stretching and told Tan Mingxue that time was money and she'd soon be free of these tedious matters. She responded by sending countless fine hair strands toward him, but Fu Qian stomped the ground, creating a shockwave that blew them away. The strands swirled back briefly, but that was all the time he needed. With a metallic ripping sound, Fu Qian tore a heavy metal tabletop loose. Tan Mingxue, usually expressionless, showed a flicker of emotion. Without giving her a chance, he lifted the tabletop, turned, and threw it like a flying shield at her head. At the same time, he fired 5 air bullets from his left hand. Tan Mingxue's long white hair instinctively gathered into a dense ball to block the attack. The metal tabletop shattered into fragments, but Fu Qian had planned for that. Each piece kept flying toward her, now a deadly spray of shrapnel. She awkwardly dodged sideways, narrowly avoiding the storm, which pounded the wall behind her. Still, An invisible bullet hit her waist, drawing blood. Fu Qian noted she didn't fall. She was much tougher than others he'd faced. Wounded and panting, Tan Mingxue called his ambush despicable. Fu Qian pointed at her hair and said someone who used that as a weapon wasn't qualified to talk. He asked if she was ready, and when she asked for what, he said last words. His eyes shifted to Wen Li in the corner, who was wide-eyed and horrified. Their eyes met, and Wen Li flinched, turning away and focusing inward. Suddenly, a man in gold-framed glasses leapt down. A dark shadow overhead. Tan Mingxue recognized him as Qi Shui and immediately regained her strength, attacking Fu Qian again. But Fu Qian was faster. He grabbed a fallen ashtray and threw it, stopping Qi Shui a few meters from Wen Li. He warned the newcomer to stay away, then turned to Wen Li, who was nearly standing in relief. Fu Qian asked if she really thought this man was there to save her. Confused, Wen Li asked what he meant. Fu Qian just pointed at her head. Calming herself, Wen Li looked at Qi Shui with growing horror and realized he wasn't who he seemed. Qi Shui then dropped his disguise, his face melting and changing into another man's. The assassin asked how Fu Qian knew. Fu Qian told the stunned Wen Li that this man was hired to kill her and remarked on how many people wanted to kill or save her. To the assassin, Fu Qian said he wouldn't reveal how he knew but recognized him from a previous encounter. The same man who had controlled Wen Xiuxian and caused Fu Qian's last mission to fail. The assassin complained his disguise was perfect, but Fu Qian pointed at Tan Mingxue, whose face flushed red, noting she hadn't noticed a thing. Fu Qian demanded the assassin's name and said if he kept it secret, he'd look it up after finishing him off. The man laughed, introduced himself as Ying Jian, and admitted he was in it for the money. He acknowledged Fu Qian's strength but warned him not to be impulsive if he wanted to kill him, then tore open the upper part of his shirt. In a cramped room where a fight could erupt at any moment, Ying Jian ripped his shirt apart, exposing a web of dark red blood veins that pulsed across his torso. The sight made Fu Qian frown. The veins were the dreaded scarlet fever, a poison curse that boiled a host's blood, turned flesh to decay and could burst outward the instant the infected died, spreading instantly. Tan Mingxue, hearing the reveal, shouted that the disease was a lethal stimulant. It granted insane speed and strength, but was so contagious that killing the host would fill the space with the fever, killing everyone nearby. He explained that the scarlet fever could even detach from the body after death, becoming a living, independent entity. The group, Ying Jian, Tan Mingxue, and their two other transcendent allies, were members of the Shadow of Obliteration, a trio of assassins constantly hunted by the Night Watchman. Fu Qian listened, realizing the three brothers owed him countless SAN points, and that even with Scarlet Fever's boost he was no match for them. He warned Ying Jian that he had only two choices: step aside and let him kill Wen Li, or kill Fu Qian and watch everyone die together while Wen Li still perished. The threat was clear. The fever would erupt within an hour, sealing the same outcome. Turning to Wen Li, Fu Qian asked how it felt to die. She, exhausted from a day of poison, rescue, hostage-taking, and betrayal, answered that fear and a hint of relief hit her. Fu Qian praised her honesty and, without warning, vanished from his spot. In an instant, an iron-like hand seized Ying Jian's neck and slammed him against the wall. Tan Mingxue paled, stepping back as Fu Qian held Ying Jian aloft, his grip tightening until the veins on the assassin's chest twitched. Fu Qian mocked the assassin's bravado, pointing out that his fear of the fever's explosion made him hesitate to fight back. Ying Jian, gasping, whispered that mutual destruction was unnecessary, but Fu Qian insisted it was essential. Wen Li, watching the scene, felt a strange calm. The sight of the once arrogant Ying Jian reduced to a trembling captive gave her a strange sense of relief. She realized in that moment the true nature of the battle and perhaps her own fate. Fu Qian felt the air shift the instant when Li's words rang out, a silent storm that brushed his skin like a light breeze but left a strange aftertaste. Before he could settle the feeling, a shrill, non-human screech tore through the space, making his eardrums throb. The Ying Jian he'd been clutching convulsed wildly, its eyes bloodshot and its growl animal-like. Panic seemed to seize it. It twisted, then snapped. Its neck cracked cleanly, dry as kindling, with no blood spilling. Even beheaded, the creature's limbs flailed faster, claws slashing toward Fu Qian's skull. He ducked, and the missed claw's momentum tore the already decaying arm off. The dark red veins peeled away like cicada shells and clung to the wall. With the monster finally dead, Fu Qian tossed the remains aside, but a grenade-like explosion erupted in his mind. A ferocious urge to kill surged through every nerve, threatening to drown his thoughts. He forced himself to breathe and looked at Wenli, who stood motionless with her eyes shut, pale but radiating a new, mysterious aura. Nearby, Tan Mingxue collapsed in a corner, hair strands tangled into invisible barriers that kept everything at bay. The storm that had just passed seemed to have amplified emotions. The Yingjian's desperate struggle, Tan Mingxue's sudden cowardice, and Wenli's transformation. Fu Qian realized his plan had worked. By pushing Wenli to the brink of death and fear, he had triggered the level-up opportunity she had mentioned. Even though the mission's success notification hadn't appeared yet, to keep the killing impulse from overrunning everything, he began breaking his own hands. First the right, then the left, each fracture snapping shut in seconds as his body healed. The self-inflicted breaks kept his murderous drive in check without harming Wenli. A new threat emerged. The blood-colored mass that had peeled from the Yingjian's corpse came together into a spiked ball, veins intertwining and devouring everything nearby. It rolled toward Wenli, who remained still. In 10 seconds she would die, and the young genius would be lost. Fu Qian faced a split decision. Smash the mass and risk destroying Wenli's fledgling power, or let it consume her. Indecision amplified his frenzy, clouding his thoughts as the mass grew larger with each heartbeat. He finally abandoned the restraint of his killing intent. A crack of bloodlight erupted from his restored right hand, carving a deep wound in his own chest. The wound cells mutated instantly, sprouting sharp fangs that formed a gaping maw. He opened it toward the expanding mass, which was swallowed whole. The creature thrashed inside, but the teeth-lined cavity held it fast. After a brutal struggle, the mass burst, releasing a scorching red mist that remained trapped inside Fu Qian's chest. With the immediate danger gone, Fu Qian kicked at Wenli's limp body. She screamed, opened her eyes, and leapt up, clearly having reached the 6th phase. The frenzy that had plagued him evaporated instantly, confirming that her ascension had quelled his murderous drive. Wenli bowed deeply, thanking him, her expression a mix of surprise and gratitude. Yet as Fu Qian stared into her now deeper eyes, a voice echoed in his mind. Wenli's death, containment failed. The scene shattered, and he found himself back in the familiar warehouse, the evaluation screen flashing madness to the extreme, a kill of Yingjian, a special kill of Crimson Angel, the reward Tyrant's Fist, and his SAN points at 33. He didn't smash the keyboard. Instead, he chose to review the incident. The prompt still read Wenli's death, containment failed, even though she stood before him, alive and upgraded. The same face, the same expressions, but now a faint, unsettling hint of evil glimmered in the depths of her eyes, suggesting the true test was confirming whether this Wenli was really the one he'd known. Fu Qian examined his latest reward, a weapon called Tyrant's Fist. Despite its imposing name, it was just a dark red ring, woven from lustrous fibers and warm to the touch. He had never worn a ring before, but he slipped it on. With a flick of his wrist, a whip of twisted blood vessels and muscle flashed out, then vanished. It was fast, concealed, and extended his reach, perfectly filling the gap in his combat style. The ring's special effect was to cause sanity loss in its target, so Fu Qian tested it on himself. A brief, ferocious killing intent flared in his mind, then faded. He felt satisfied. After all the disgusting things he had endured, this was a welcome addition. Ready for his next attempt, Fu Qian spent a SAN point and found himself back at the one-family lakeside mansion. He ignored Captain Gu's usual warnings, already knowing the drill. He efficiently kicked in the door, smashed the bowls, sent Wenli flying, deflected an incoming stone pillar, and then carried her to the underground safe house. As the door sealed behind them, he glimpsed young Master Yi being restrained by Master Ji outside. Inside the bunker, Wenli asked how long they would be trapped. Fu Qian held up a finger, clarifying it would be just 1 hour, not a week. He then delivered a chilling ultimatum. If she was not at the 6th phase within that hour, he would peel off her skin. Wenli stared blankly, then offered a bleak smile, claiming the task was impossible and that this was not his mission. Fu Qian, sensing something was amiss, simply told her to come out. When she feigned confusion, he ripped off the heavy metal tabletop, used it to shred the ventilation duct, and blocked it completely. The entire safe house shook. He reiterated the 58-minute deadline, his face expressionless. After a long moment, Wenli's demeanor shifted. The pitiful hesitation vanished, replaced by a smile. She admitted she could not deal with him, but still questioned the 1-hour limit. Fu Qian asked how to address her. She replied that Wen Li was fine, claiming to be essentially the same person. She then explained her origin, born from Wen Li's intense emotional turmoil and the overwhelming noise of countless people's thoughts and feelings. She described how her identity had merged amidst endless troubles. But Fu Qian was not interested in her story. He cut her off mid-sentence with an air bullet that grazed her forehead, scattering strands of hair. He declared she was definitely not Wen Li. She demanded to know why he thought so. Fu Qian knew that if she were merely a split personality, the mission would have succeeded last time when Wen Li advanced. The mission failure meant this entity was distinct. He also noted her different reaction to his new, harsher threat compared to Wen Li's fear of being stripped. He dismissed her tricks, claiming his vast experience made him discerning, and reminded her she only had 50 minutes left. The fake Wen Li's expression cooled completely. She introduced herself as Yvette. Fu Qian admitted he was curious about her true origin. Yvette confirmed she was born from Wen Li but was not her, a manifestation of transcendent power. She explained that if Wen Li advanced to the 6th phase, Yvette would fully revive, and Wen Li would vanish forever. Yvette then stated it was impossible to advance in an hour, asking for 5 hours instead. She grabbed Fu Qian's hand, pressing it onto her thigh, and offered to let him use the extra time however he wanted. Fu Qian noted her flawless appearance and hinted that he, too, had some special skills. Fu Qian flicked his wrist, and a scarlet whip appeared, blooming like a flower. Yvette stared at the blood-veined weapon and immediately knew it wasn't a toy. She called him a psychopath and demanded why he'd use such a thing. Fu Qian didn't answer but cracked the whip against her alabaster arm, leaving a deep mark and sharp pain that made her scream. The agony triggered chaotic thoughts that shook her sanity. She tried to dodge the intangible, shadowless whip, but he struck again. Fu Qian accused her of not being human and said he would reveal her true form. The next lash caused crystal scales to sprout from her skin, each bearing a blurry, wailing face. The scales spread, encasing her in a huge, faceted crystal that sent out maddening sound waves. Even Fu Qian felt his head grow heavy under the psychic attack. He kept hitting her with his tyrant's fist, sure an entity inside Wen Li needed to be forced out. The whip's marks faded as the crystal hardened, but Yvette's desperation grew. She lunged at Fu Qian with claws, charging like a beast, proof she'd reached the 6th phase, a big change. Fu Qian dodged and kicked her waist lightly, enough to send her flying but not enough to kill Wen Li, whose survival was key to his mission. Yvette rolled, glared fiercely, and despite the constant strikes, seemed to stabilize. The crystal scales were blocking more damage. A hoarse voice came from her. She admitted that although this wasn't how she wanted it, completing her ascension in this form might bring huge benefits. Fu Qian mocked her weapon's slight failure, then lashed the whip across his own back, boosting his murderous intent. He said Wen Li acted like a mirror, reflecting others' emotions, and added that to the mix. The self-inflicted lashes shattered Yvette's crystal armor. Her final scream broke the scales, and the pieces fell away. Fu Qian knelt, sensing Yvette's consciousness had completely broken down. He told her time was up and she hadn't met his requirements. Then he said he'd strip Miss when naked and throw her out. The emotional wave from his words surged through the beast form, stirring a psychic storm. As the feelings faded, Wen Li's twisted deformities softened, broken mirror fragments melded back into smooth skin, and her breathing steadied. Finally, she opened her eyes, marking the end of containment. Wen Li slowly woke up, her eyes still hazy, but Fu Qian immediately felt a much stronger aura coming from her. When she recognized him, she jolted upright, instinctively trying to cover herself. A sharp scream filled the room. Her clothes were shredded, and her body was covered in wounds. Still, Fu Qian smiled, genuinely happy that she had leveled up. She shivered, staring at him, so caught up in the moment she forgot to cover herself. Taking a deep breath, she focused and felt a surge of power unlike anything before. She had truly broken through to the 6th phase, officially becoming a middle-tier transcendent. Yet, she admitted she remembered nothing of what had happened. Fu Qian just sighed, saying it was destiny for a chosen one, though he privately thought she just slept through the worst while he took all the hits. As footsteps grew louder, Tan Mingxue and the others approaching, Fu Qian asked Wen Li one last thing. He wondered if her resistance to hiding in safe houses was connected to her ability, if being alone made her emotions worse because no one else could sense them. Wen Li looked surprised, but before she could answer, Fu Qian vanished, leaving her alone in the now empty safe house. He thought that if isolation wasn't the problem, she could have just hidden away from overwhelming feelings, confirming his suspicion that being alone only made things worse for her. Back at the warehouse, Fu Qian got an evaluation, merciless sacrificial blade. The system explained he had personally destroyed an underdeveloped creature, allowing transcendent powers to rise in a seemingly normal way. This secret would stay hidden from everyone, even Wen Li. He realized the underdeveloped juvenile wasn't Wen Li but Yvette, who had been growing inside her. If Fu Qian hadn't stepped in, Yvette would have completely replaced Wen Li's consciousness during the advancement, making it look like a normal upgrade. This also explained the night watchman's earlier order to observe and respond accordingly. They must have sensed something was off. Fu Qian was satisfied. The mist gate and all anomalies had disappeared, signaling the mission was complete. He earned 25 SAN points and 5 inspiration, a decent reward for a tough escort job. He decided not to review the replay, partly because it was so brief and partly out of respect for Wen Li's new state, given the exposed scenes. When he got home, no real time had passed. It was exactly the moment he'd entered containment. The early morning sun still shone as if nothing had changed. But something had. On his middle finger, a dark red ring pulsed, catching the sunlight like blood flowing inside it. He touched his chest, remembering the sick feeling of swallowing the dark blood clot that transformed him. He wondered if he could shift into his new thug form in the real world but quickly shook the thought away, blaming it on spiritual contamination from his brutal job. He deserved his $1 million salary, he thought. Realizing he hadn't eaten, he headed to the kitchen to make noodles, a staple of his solitary life. Just as he was about to eat, a knock came at the door. His quiet morning was shattered by loud banging. Qin Mingze, his loud friend, pushed inside without waiting, nearly spitting as he complained about neck pain. With him was Wu Qingyu, a perpetually exhausted medical intern and mutual friend, who collapsed onto the couch looking utterly drained. Fu Qian, once a brilliant student, had changed after losing his parents at 10. He'd adopted a lie-flat attitude, dropping most friends and ambitions, keeping only Qin Mingze and Wu Qingyu close. Seeing Wu Qingyu's exhaustion, Fu Qian asked about his internship. Wu Qingyu confirmed he was overwhelmed, describing endless night shifts, labeling, and paper writing that even haunted his dreams. He admitted he'd come just to relax. To unwind, Qin Mingze suggested video games. Despite often struggling financially, Fu Qian kept a top-tier gaming setup, recently buying the latest console partly because he wrote copy for indie games. His recent experiences had sharpened his physical control to an almost unbelievable level. He effortlessly dominated both friends, leaving Qin Mingze frustrated and defeated. But Qin Mingze had a more serious reason for visiting, which Fu Qian had already guessed from their cautious looks. He admitted he was worried about Fu Qian's sudden, dramatic physical changes, fearing he was pushing some dangerous, quick-fix fitness routine. Wu Qingyu, despite his fatigue, confirmed Fu Qian looked incredibly healthy but that his rapid progress was baffling. He added that Fu Qian now looked strong enough to easily overpower him. Moved by their concern, Fu Qian offered a partial truth. He explained he'd taken a new, well-paying part-time job demanding both physical and mental effort, requiring him to master various skills. His friends were surprised, wondering if it was just physical labor. Fu Qian clarified it was a mix, sometimes repetitive but always requiring care for his body. Suddenly, Qin Mingze, inspired by Fu Qian's impressive physique, stood up dramatically and started taking off his own clothes. He tossed them to Fu Qian, insisting he try them on. After Fu Qian complied, Qin Mingze took a bunch of photos, explaining he planned to Photoshop his own head onto Fu Qian's muscular body. He believed this would make him invincible with girls. Fu Qian, ever dry-witted, remarked that if Qin Mingze put that much shameless effort into his thesis, it would have been finished long ago. On Sunday morning, Fu Qian put on his badge, feeling a rare pleasure at the thought of working overtime. A leak alert came in for Angel of Comfort, code 1-003, with orders to recontain it. The 1- prefix caught his attention. If lower numbers meant higher danger, this would be a tough job, so he stayed alert. The anomaly was a plain white sphere about 2 meters wide, with no pattern. The containment scene loaded, and a briefing explained that as a young transcendent, his goal was to escape the furnace they had entered. He found himself in mist-covered ruins under a gray sky that hid sun and stars. A young exploration team, around 20 years old and much stronger than young Master Yi and Yi Yang, was already there. Several were at least 7th phase and heavily armed. Fu Qian recognized them as an exploration team from the Academy, the elite training school for transcendence. The leader, Yuan Xian, frowned and signaled to stop. Their path was blocked by a broken wall with old markings. It could be climbed, but what lay beyond was unknown. Around them were spires, archways, and stone columns jammed together, all shrouded in a gray-white mist that blurred what was beyond. Yuan Xian asked Ji Liushuang, a striking girl his age, if they should stop. She agreed, noting the place wasn't on any map and the ruins looked ancient. They decided to camp rather than go deeper, reminding each other not to stray far from the other academy teams so Director Li could keep track. The group quickly set up a makeshift camp. Fu Qian figured if these ruins were the furnace, escaping would complete the containment. He looked for landmarks, but the strange angles risked causing illusions. From their talk, he learned there were 2 other academy teams, 30 elite members total, led by the vice principal. One member pulled a thin filament from a backpack, saying it grew on the rocks and was hair-thin but tough. Everyone laughed and suggested Fu Qian, who had been on the edge of the group and ignored during the break, might know about it. He took the filament, looked it over, and said simply it was hair. Fu Qian was appraising an object for a young man. But what the man prized as a treasure was actually dangerous hair that couldn't be cut. Fu Qian's unique perception, likely from his inspiration, let him see its true nature, unlike the young man who only noticed a shimmering glow. The young man, annoyed by Fu Qian's bluntness, revealed that this hair grew thicker deeper inside the ruins and could mark the way out. Ji Liushuang, watching closely, quickly sensed the threat. She drew her sword just as black hair-like tendrils crept along the ground, nearly reaching a girl's foot. Ji Liushuang cut them off and ordered everyone to drop what they were holding. The young man hesitated but obeyed. The moment the hair left his hand, it stiffened and pierced his flesh. Ji Liushuang was already there, cutting the strands away. She then told him to use fire, which he did, burning off the hair and saving his hand, though it went limp. While Ji Liushuang dealt with the threat, Fu Qian, who had noticed the danger earlier, slipped away. He figured the group could handle the hair and focused on the mission, finding a way out. Moving through the mist, he thought about how reckless others had been to come this far. He soon reached the ruin's edge, where the mist cleared and debris thinned, but an invisible barrier blocked his path. Pressing on it, he felt a smooth, clear shield surrounding the area, the boundary of the furnace. He tried punching it hard, but the barrier didn't budge and nearly hurt him. Next, he fired 2 air bullets, but they vanished without effect. Fu Qian realized the barrier let people enter but not leave. He tested this by throwing a stone, which hit the barrier and dropped straight down. This explained why strange things were trapped inside. It was a serious problem, especially with hostile creatures around. As he thought it over, he called out. 5 seconds later, a middle-aged man appeared from behind a broken steel, clapping and praising Fu Qian for noticing him.